G'day guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be doing my tips for the semi-final weekend of football. And what a first week of finals we witnessed, and some upsets galore definitely happening, as we can see by the round average, which, to be fair, I was probably on par if you want to round up the 0.9. I got at least one right, so it was definitely a tricky weekend of football. A few upsets in there, clearly, being that the average was quite down. We've got Sidebangers on top of the table now, only just by 56 points in terms of the total score there. So Macca 0303 has been on top of the table for a lot of the year. We'll need to return serve, so it's going to be a very fascinating couple of weeks. I think I got up to 13th or thereabouts, back to 15th. That's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. All right, so let's have a look-ski into these games, and there's always a bias towards the team that's won, and there's more optimism about the team that got the job done in the elimination final versus a team that had lost their qualifying final, and all looks terrible in the world. So let's have a bit of a look to see how these games will kind of look and sort of shape what the preliminary final weekend's going to look like for teams alike, and we'll see what happens. The winner out of the first game, Adelaide and Hawthorn at the Adelaide Oval, Friday night football. The winner here will go on to play Geelong, and that one will be at the MCG. So there's a lot up for grabs. As we all saw Thursday night, Collingwood put on a masterclass and got the job done. I think it was about 4 goals in the end, from memory. It was exactly 4 goals, so how about that? The Crows went down at home. Most players playing their first final. A couple of Crows players and previous players that have played at other clubs have played a final, but a lot of Crows playing their first final. Hawthorn, a very gutsy win over the GWS Giants. After they were 42 points up, the Giants got back in front, but Hawthorn said no siree, and they were able to eclipse the Giants in that last quarter in a really gutsy win. Defensively held up really well. They were able to stifle the Giants in that same sort of stanza. From the Crows' perspective, it was just a bit clunky. Their ball movement, straight line all night. Ground ball wasn't really a feature for them, and they just couldn't win a contest forward of the ball outside of a once-off contested mark here and there from Tex and I think, trying to think of the other player, Luca Pedler had a good crack at it. So, really interesting game, this one. The Crows, they haven't been in finals for a long time. And the Hawks, they are looking up and about, looking very menacing at the moment. You would think, Adelaide in a decent spot here, especially at their home deck. But we know, Hawthorn, they got the job done earlier in the year against the Crows. They also took it right up to them in that Adelaide Oval game, where I think there was a couple of goals in it. Hawthorn started off like a house on fire. And then, the Crows were able to mount a challenge back and return serve. For this game, I'm leaning towards the Hawks, and that pains me to say because I'd rather face Adelaide personally than Hawthorn, and I know there's biases towards either or, but just Adelaide looked a little bit single pace through the midfield. They didn't have much going for them at ground level in the forward 50. And again, the Pies, when they play that pressure game, that they're as good as it gets, and that fan base that the Crows have are going to be absolutely vocal. Just something about the Hawks and the way they defend their second sort of year in the finals. Better for the run this time around, I think. They've always kind of troubled Adelaide in a general sense, whether it's been at the MCG, and they've had some pretty stirring wins over at Adelaide as well. We know the Hawks are really straight in front of goal also. Just the lack of Rankin and potentially the lack of Rochelle, we'll see how that plays out. But just those small forwards, I mean, they won last time because Rankin basically, made the great escape for them yet again. So it's not to say they fully rely on him, but when they need something miraculous to happen, that it's pretty minimal at the moment. I think, the Hawks have got a bit more creativity there, a bit more bounce off halfback than the Crows do at the moment. all suffice to say, the Crows could come out and do what Geelong did to Brisbane. That's not impossible. But I'm leaning more towards the Hawks and probably going to go with the Hawks on this occasion. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I'd rather the Crows win, to be honest. And it would be a very big shame if they went out in straight sets, but just how I sort of see it at the moment. And I'm going to back the Hawks in, knowing that there's been a few upsets, knowing that there's been some pretty stirring wins away from teams' home grounds or home states. So I'll go the Hawks. And what a treat we've got here at the Saturday night clash. We've got Brisbane, and they are hosting the Gold Coast Suns. Brisbane went down to the Cats, 37 points, although it was more like a 10-goal loss. Outside of Geelong not kicking straight, and Cam Rayner just doing what Cam Rayner does. And then Gold Coast, they had an unbelievable win. Their first win in finals football, getting the job done over the Dockers by a solitary point. They set it all up in that second term. I think they kicked 7 in the second term and were absolutely scintillating. And they were able to hold off and hit back at the Dockers late when the Dockers hit the lead. But the Suns were too good there. Dimmer got his team on a mission, the longest trip in footy. So it was a remarkable win from the Gold Coast Suns. And also career comes to an end for Nat Fyfe. Unfortunately for Nat, who's had a great career. He's been a sensational player. Injuries definitely hasn't helped in the last few years, but in his prime, he was as good as it gets. All right, well, we know going back a few weeks ago at the Suns' home ground, Brisbane were a bit off that day as well. But the Suns, in the teaming conditions, they got the job done. I think it was 66 points in the end, so they absolutely demolished the Lions, who will be without Lachie Neale. They've got a fair few injuries as well, Brisbane. They'll have their work cut out, no doubt about that. It feels like Gold Coast won their grand final last week, so we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to back the Lions in to respond here with not a lot of confidence, though. Again, there's always the bias towards the winner, and it's doom and gloom for the losing qualifying final team. Straight sets isn't super, super common, but it has become more common since they've introduced the pre-finals bye, which is a contentious point, has to be said. But when the Lions have been a bit win-loss in the back half of the year, and I think they'll rally and get back into some decent form. Clearly, a fair few players out and more injuries than they would like. Health's your best player this time of year. But I just think at the Gabba, although they haven't been amazing at home this year, it's just one of those games where I think they'll ramp their pressure up. They'll go to work on what they need to do. I guess we know what the Gold Coast Suns are going to try to do. They'll definitely take note of what they did last time in the contest, and they'll also, I'm sure they'll study what the Cats did as well and try and chop off those corridor kicks that Brisbane trying to get from half back. So I think the Lions will get the job done just because of the finals experience that they do have and their ability to respond and get to a prelim final. I don't think Gold Coast is quite there yet, so it's more off the experience and just the proudness of the group to be able to get back to a prelim more so than the actual form line and not only last week, probably the second half of the season, and taking into account their clash against Gold Coast last time. So it's more so going on that line of thinking. But clearly, when you play a final and you've got teams that are playing against each other, teams lost the week before, didn't play that well, there's always always more positive about the team that just won to get in there. But then you got to take into consideration the quality of the opposition, and we only have to rewind a couple of weeks where Brisbane absolutely tore Freo to shreds and Gold Coast got over the line, but only just. So they'll get a really good test this week. So, but I'll go Brisbane either way. So those are my picks for the weekend. Please win Adelaide. I've gone Hawthorn by 14 points, and I have also tipped the Brisbane Lions to get the job done. So that's my line of thinking for this week, guys. Interested to hear your thoughts as well. Chuck down who you're picking over the weekend. Are there any upsets that you've got in mind? Can the Suns get it done? Will the Crows go out in straight sets? Will the Hawks face the Cats in another epic prelim? All is there before us. We'll wait and see. Love it. All right. Well, next time you'll see me, I'll be reviewing No, I won't be reviewing. Well, I'll be doing the preliminary final tips because Geelong have the week off. So I will not be reviewing a Geelong game that has not yet happened. So there you go. Subscribe away, guys. Like the video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, comment who you think's going to win over the weekend. Really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around, guys. I'll catch you on the next video.